I've reviewed over 100 Y Combinator startup landing pages and realized one thing. They don't try to sell. They try to filter. In this video, I will show you 10 common patterns I identified across the websites of a bunch of startups that were backed by Y Combinator in their latest batch. And by the end of the video, you will hopefully leapfrog months worth of learnings and get your website's homepage ready for top-notch conversion. Let's get right into it. The first insight is that Y Combinator startups rarely try to sound big. They try to sound specific. A common pattern I noticed was they normally use "we help X do Y with or without Z." And this tends to work across the board. That often includes naming the user they're targeting. So developers, HR professionals, finance teams, whatever they may be. And they typically keep one core user per page. If there's only one user they're targeting, then only one page. A good example is this startup right here, Mayflower, and what they do is they automate immigration screening for your HR team. As simple as it gets. You can contact them, and you can see here backed by Y Combinator, but they keep it super simple, nothing fancy, and it's very easy for us to understand right away what they do and who they do it for. What a lot of early stage founders fail to understand is that having a broader positioning actually leads to weaker clarity. So you want to be as narrow and focused as you possibly can. And Y Combinator startups do this. They assume that the visitor is already part of their target audience. So they communicate the message right to them. And if it's not, then they just dip. Doesn't cost anything to anyone. The second thing I noticed is that the above the fold message is ruthlessly simple. Normally, you will see between 10 and 14 words here, if that many. That is because they focus on making sure that their messaging is clear. Sometimes there's no visuals, max there's one visual, and typically one primary CTA. Whether it's book a demo or contact us or buy now, whatever it may be, there's normally one, max a secondary button, but there's normally one primary CTA. So an overall learning that I take from here is that YC startups are optimizing for the ability for the visitor to land and right away instinctively understand what their product is about. Not for them to say, we're X and we're changing the world, but much more of simply, this is what we do and this is who we do it for. And this actually ties to a learning that a lot of people are not aware of, which is visitors of a website typically take between 3 and 5 seconds to decide whether they want to bounce or stay on the website. And most of them typically bounce. So if you have the right messaging for the right target audience, they will most likely stay, and the probability of conversion then increases. Number 3, the language used on the website is often functional and not aspirational. So we see a lot of these verbs: track, deploy, sync, monitor. These are verbs that tell you what you can do with the product. It's very rare that you see their websites using metaphors or emotional language attached to the problem. And a good example to explain this is finance startup saying, automatically reconcile your Stripe payouts. Very clear, very easy to understand. On the other hand, you could have a startup doing the exact same, but saying instead, take control of your financial future. Now this is broad, doesn't mean anything. This is very clear. And what you take away from this is that YC founders typically use their landing pages or their homepage to sell the capability, not the vision. Pattern number 4, product comes before story. What does this mean? It means that often in the beginning of the website, you will see what the product does, how it works in maximum 3 steps. Who is it for, and often who is it not for? And then proof and a CTA. That proof is also that small YC tag that instinctively adds trust to the user because obviously YC is a huge brand, but the theme is absolutely the same. The product is much more important than the story, the long-term vision, or anything else that comes along the lines of that. So you will most likely not see a mission statement, which is something that you see in big companies. And what this ends up telling us is that their homepage is typically a filter. They filter for the people who want to use that product to solve the problem that they're trying to solve, as opposed to using it for hype or for looking cool or for attracting people who are attracted to a certain vision. Number 5, proof is lightweight, but definitely targeted. You will most likely notice that YC startups, they don't have long case studies. They don't have the biggest logos in the game, but what they do have is the Y Combinator tag. Almost all of them have it. And you also normally see a specific metric, trusted by X number of teams, or X number of users. Very short testimonials from some users. Maybe even logos of 3 to 5 to 7 early companies, early believers of the product. But you will not see generic testimonials from Paul Graham or whatever other startup legends. You will not see their social media follower count, or you will not see how much reach they have on LinkedIn from the post that they made a while back when they announced their fundraising. The sixth thing that I noticed is that pricing is often visible early. Most Y Combinator startups know that pricing and displaying their pricing builds trust. And so normally you're able to see the pricing right above the fold on the header where you can click a link and then see it right away. Because they know, they understand, and they acknowledge that if the pricing is not consistent with the budget from the customer, then there's most likely going to be friction and they're not going to make the sale anyways. It also allows them to automatically onboard a lot more people. So if you're thinking about concealing pricing until after sign up, you're just adding friction and you're most likely not going to be optimizing for conversion. Now, sometimes there are cases where it's enterprise sales led and therefore there's no specific pricing. You do need to contact, you need to get a demo and then get the actual pricing for your specific company. But those are different cases. It is also super common for Y Combinator startups to offer free trial or to offer a free tier, but that's because typically their products are geared towards converting you at some stage, and that allows them to collect data to understand if they're bringing the right value and develop their product accordingly. If you want to make sure that you're optimizing your landing pages for conversion, in addition to these 10 points, make sure to use Talk to Me data. Because with this website, you can essentially add your URL, run a report on your website, and understand the gaps and the areas of improvement that you can find. With a report, you can see areas of opportunity, you can see recommended A/B tests, and you can see how you rank against each of the parameters that allow you to have a high converting homepage or landing page. With Talk to Me data, you can have one free report per month. So go ahead, sign up, and let me know what you think because, hey, I built it. Now going back to the regular schedule. The seventh thing I noticed across the board for most YC websites is that the design is intentionally plain. A lot of them use these white backgrounds or black backgrounds for developer tools, and they use neutral colors mainly, system fonts or very simple typefaces, and they focus a lot more on sharing UI screenshots as opposed to generic images. And I think this is because most of them try to highlight the clarity of their product as opposed to trying to create branding awareness or creating a branding vibe. It is also an unspoken truth that boring design converts better for B2B, and YC startups tend to be mostly B2B. Common pattern number 8, CTAs are typically low commitment. One of the things I noticed across a lot of the websites that I went through is the fact that CTAs are normally book a demo, contact us, join now, sign up. And it's never an aggressive sort of CTA that inspires urgency, like buy now, enjoy the offer. And this is actually something that contradicts a lot with e-commerce, because in e-commerce, which is what my background is on, you typically try to focus on getting the purchase or getting the conversion, the commitment right there and then. So you have an incentive to give them urgency. Whereas with YC startups, when it's SaaS, when it's B2B, you typically want to keep it a little bit lower. The tone needs to be a little bit more contained. And typically they're trying to optimize for a signal. If you are a visitor of their website and you are willing to click the button, follow through to the next stage, chances are you're giving them a signal that what they're building is something that people want. And ultimately, Y Combinator startups are all trying to do the same, building something that people want. Number 9, these websites are built to evolve, not to be perfect. I've been following a bunch of different Y Combinator startups, and a lot of them change their website every week, if not every other day. And that's exactly the reason why they keep the websites minimal, they keep the messaging simple, and those are the kind of things that allow them to iterate quickly, whether it's the color, the messaging, the CTA, even the value proposition. And so the landing pages, the homepage, is often treated as an experiment in terms of communication and in terms of acquiring the right customer flow. And what leads to that perfect landing page, that perfect homepage, is the speed of iteration. It's what hits best and allowing yourself to get there as fast as possible. So when you're building your landing page, Don't think about spending 3 weeks on it to make it perfect. Start with something, put the message out there, iterate quickly, and eventually you'll get to a messaging, to a clarity level that will make a lot of sense to your users and it'll resonate with them to convert quickly. And finally, the 10th and the biggest learning of them all. Y Combinator landing pages are designed to disqualify the wrong users faster than they are to convert the right ones. And this ties back to the statement I made right in the beginning of the video. Their goal is not to sell, it's to filter. They want to make sure that at the early stage, they're building landing pages that resonate with someone, with the people they're trying to solve a problem for, and that it hits instantaneously. So they want traffic to come in, whoever's not interested to move away quickly and swiftly, and for the real users, the people who are going to take advantage of the product, to stay, to engage, and then move from there. And of course, the objective is to attract more of users that want the product than visitors that don't. This typically leads to better quality of leads, better demos, and much faster product feedback. These, for me, were the top 10 things I identified after reviewing over 100 landing pages from Y Combinator startups. Did you find this useful? Did you notice different patterns that I didn't? And let me know if you want to know more about conversion, optimization of different landing pages, and how you can take your website from a low conversion rate to a high conversion rate. If you have any questions, drop them down below, and I'll see you soon in my next video.